Welcome along to a new video. Now if you can't hear it in my voice, it's a little bit hoarse. I completely lost my voice for a couple of days there. I don't know what happened. Just one day evening, when I tried to speak, the voice was just breaking. And then, Tuesday it was worse. Yesterday, very scratchy. Just uncomfortable, no idea. I don't even feel sick or anything, but down, out of action for a couple of days because I just couldn't speak. So not necessarily a bad thing, you're probably saying, but it is what it is. This morning, not feeling too bad. I've been taking a lot of water, up in the fluids, looking after that fruit. But interesting start to July, I have to say. Because of that, I couldn't do what I wanted to do during the week. Normally I'm researching a few videos to put online or recording podcasts and whatnot. Couldn't do any of that, so I started to declutter yesterday and the day before. I don't know if I shared that on the channel. I had at one point switched up the whole office setup that I have as a background for the review channel, which I haven't got around to using properly just yet. But yeah, so I started decluttering a lot of the other things that I had. There's quite a few boxes and whatnot that I had brought up when I moved out of Korean years and years ago. Like it's about 20 years at this point since I moved back up to where I'm at now, and a lot of stuff in there that I hadn't went through. So decluttering the house, decided to get through all that sort of stuff. I've probably shared somewhere along the line, there's a few of those office binders that I have a lot of the indie projects that I've worked on over the years that never got made for one reason or another. Normally it would be budget or the help to get it done. So started going through them over the last week or so, even before this voice thing. So interesting stuff that I came across there. I came across a project that I had started writing at about 1998, 1999, whenever I got my first camcorder. It was one of those bad boys. I don't know if I still have that. That'd be interesting to check out later on tonight if I actually still have that camcorder. It was one of the ones where you took the cassette out of it and you had to put it into the big VHS cassette to actually play it back. But you could strategically record something and maybe make something. So started writing projects. Then there is one that's almost like a Northern Ireland based version of Bottom, of Rick Mail, Adrian Edmondson. So looking forward to getting into that. So getting the day's work started. We're going to go back home after that and check out what's in the rest of that box. Hey ho, it's off, home I go. And the voice is definitely well back and working. I talked an absolute unreal amount of nonsense today at work, and it was great. So let's get home and check out some of those little projects that I managed to dig out during the week. What a difference 5 or 10 minutes can make. Northern Ireland, in typical of what it is. I left work there, fairly decent weather, nice and warm. Still is pretty warm, but it is starting to rain. Alright, so we're home and I'm excited to get into some of this stuff. I've got a lot of crap lying over there, but I came across, as I say, started writing this back in the late 90s. Played about with it on and off for quite a while, but 1998, 1999 was around about that. time or was messing about with us. Might actually been a little bit sooner than that. So it's kind of weird when you think to yourself, okay, what are you going to do with this once you get it done? Especially back then, because there's no such thing as video sharing websites back then. So this has been a bit of a passion that I've had for quite a while, and that's something I would say to anybody out there that's interested in doing anything. There is no gatekeepers whatsoever to anything you want to do. If you've got a passion for something, you've got an interest in learning something, you can do it anywhere at any time with the internet. You know, everything is there to be learned, and yeah, definitely. There's no gatekeepers keeping you from. If you want to write something, sit down and write it, and don't let anybody talk you out of doing it. Because you know, if you're doing that for, like, you know, for me, I find it very therapeutic from a mental perspective. You know, if I'm stressed or down or anything like that, I'd start writing any of my frustrations, any problems, any hard times I'm going through. I'll take that as inspiration and start writing. That is essentially where conclusions came from. The last short film I did, it was me in my early to mid-20s, not being able to really deal with life and the crap that it throws you. And that just, you know, you took that there and molded it into something that would work for a little script. So that's where that came from. So this here is a tasty little project. Look how much is here. Like, there's a lot of paper been used up in that there. I thought I had 6 of them. May not all be together here. I definitely have an outline for 6 episodes, but I've definitely got 3 fully written scripts here. And it's really weird that I actually finished the final script, because it's one of those scripts that is like a bookend to a small series. So when I was thinking writing this here back then, the great thing about writing is you'll sit down and read something that you had written years ago. In this case, 1998, 99. It's 2025 now, and it's been interesting for me to sit and read through this here, and you start to remember where you were at, what you were doing, the inspiration you had for it, the person you were whenever you were writing it, and that is epic for me. That's it kind of just transports you back in time, and definitely around that stage, the shows that I was influenced by, and I've actually fell into it in a major way in recent weeks as well, is Bottom, I did say earlier in the video. So what I was thinking writing this, loved all those old shows. Bottom, if you could have a version of Bottom updated but set in Northern Ireland with the Northern Irish humour, I think it'd work well. There's a few ideas that I've actually had on top of these here since I've been reading through them. Now, I will say this, you do, when you're writing, your tastes do change. You're going to get better as you go along. Now, out of the 6, I have 3 here that are fully written, they're full scripts, and they are garbage. They're crap. But obviously, whenever I was writing these, I thought these were great. So if I didn't think the first one was great, I wouldn't want on to do the rest of them. So I've actually, at some point or another, I sat and wrote 6 of these here, thinking to myself, these are wonderful, these are great. But now, looking at it with fresh eyes, they are absolute garbage. But a lot of potential in there. A lot of potential for this to be a very funny little series. If it ever does eventually get completed and made, goodness knows, might happen, might not happen. But yeah, that's the thing about writing. You don't want to be the guy that thinks he's perfect. in absolutely everything he does. Nobody is perfect in absolutely everything they do, and definitely not first time. Whenever it comes to writing in particular, you could write something that you think is absolutely amazing. Trust me, give it a little bit of time. When you finish writing that script or that story, whatever it is, and you think it's good, you think it's amazing, set it in the back burner. Put it into what I did with these here. Whenever I was finished with these here, I stuck them into these things and put them into storage. And now, what, more years than I care to remember later, come back upon them, and you're looking at them with the fresh eyes that tell you, you know what, there's potential in there. That could be good, but it's not good yet. A lot of us don't have the maturity to actually see that in our own work. Even the stuff that I finished, and I'll be honest with you, if I was to go back now to all the short films I have on my website, I would do them all completely different. Even conclusions. As much as I love that little movie, I recently rewatched it again. I took altogether, I think, am I hearing a siren coming? I took at least 7 years to get that planned out, written, rewritten, whatnot, trying to get people together to get it made, betting a few wrong horses along the way, but 7 years it took for that to be written, made, edited, put out there. Great little movie, don't get me wrong, but looking at it now, after a few years I've been away from it, I would cut that movie. I swear you could save at least a minute on that movie somewhere along the line, because there's a chunk in the centre of it where it's just a little bit too long, and I would compress that now. But whenever I was going through that 7-year period of getting it made, getting it edited and whatnot, I thought it was absolutely perfect. And yeah, definitely I would go back and trim a minute out of that, no problem at all. And something that I probably will do at some point, might actually, all those movies that I've got up there, those little short films of mine, there's a couple of them there, they're good for like the opener to a bigger film, and that's an idea that I'm playing about with as well. But anyway, back to this. The title of this, as it stands at the moment, is Diggers, and it's a play on Dole Diggers. If you're going to do Bottom today, and I wouldn't be exactly like Bottom, as much as I enjoy the humour of Bottom, it would have the style of Bottom, but more of the humour of a Red Dwarf. Like a cross between Red Dwarf and Bottom. And yeah, I think it could be quite funny, because there's a lot of things that goes on in Northern Ireland that if you were to tell people about it, they would never believe you, because it's just that incredibly random and stupid. And I've witnessed a heck of a lot of it over the years growing up here. So I am going to sit down and rewrite these, and I definitely am. There's one there, episode 6. That's not right. I've got 2 episode 6s here. There is one called I see what happened there. Yeah. There's one called The Class Divide, and I will have a lot of fun rewriting this script, and I haven't actually sat down to read it properly yet, but going by the couple that I have read at the moment, this will probably be just as bad as the other ones. But in all fairness, just looking at the title and the first page of it, I think this could be the funniest one out of all of them. And something that I love playing humour on is the class divide of you're always going to come across someone in your life that's, you know, view themselves as like 2 steps higher up the ladder than you are. And I've witnessed it on and off over the years, and I think this script is actually probably something that actually did happen. Um, of 2 groups of people that meet. One group of people is like the working class, and the working class kids, this will be like the late teenagers, uh, early 20s will be like the age group in this. And you know, at that stage you're going to come across the students that think that the sun shines out of their backside because they went to a better school than you did, and they're apparently more educated than you are. And that is something that I have seen play out countless times over the years in different scenarios. Like ever since what was called the 11 plus, whenever I was in primary school, I think they changed it to the transfer test. Don't know what the name of it is now. But it was essentially a little test you could take whenever you're leaving primary school to go to your high school years. And you could either go to high school, or if you done well on this test, you could get into the grammar school. You know, totally pip, what? And no joke, that was my first witness of the class divide, because there was a girl we were in the same class as the whole way through primary school. We were kids, grew up, play school, primary school, right up to 11 plus. She did the test, a couple of us guys didn't. No joke, I don't think she has broke breath to maybe 2 words to us since the day she took that test, passed it, got to the better school than the one we were going to go to. So I have a lot of fun playing with the class divide at the best of times. If I can crack a joke against a totally pip, I will do it, and have a class utter amount of fun doing it too. So that'll be a funny one to work on. Very simple opening episode for it would be the couple of friends hanging out. I didn't realise I just knocked the camera. A couple of friends hanging out playing PlayStation. That is essentially not the whole episode, of course. You're going to have there a bit of a confrontation between the two of them, but essentially the whole episode will be them sitting playing PlayStation, and the perspective of the camera will be from the TV, and them sitting side by side and giving each other crap. So yeah, it's just from that alone you can see the inspiration of Bottom in there, just that simple sort of layout. And even Red Dwarf to a certain extent, like, you know, that show was set in a mining ship in deep space, but it was very, especially the first 2 seasons, was, you know, 2 guys trapped together more or less, and a lot of it was just one-on-one talk between the two of them. Class. So that's what I'm thinking. That's where we're at with that. We have yeah, potentially a very fun little series of Northern Ireland humour mixed in with Bottom and Red Dwarf. And there's another little notebook that I found over there. It actually has a couple of little sketches in there that from around about the same time that this was been done. It might have been 2000, and no, actually it's a little bit later than that. It was probably 2004, 2005. It was around about the year YouTube was launched. Even through the thing of people getting interested in making videos. Of course, I already had it, but we were more set up for it at this stage. And I come up with an idea for a couple of weight loss skits, me being the fat guy out of the bunch. Yeah, that would be interesting to try and get them made now, because it'd be interesting to see what would happen if we actually did get them done, because we're now in that stage where if you're to do the skits that I've got in that book as far as weight loss goes, yeah, I don't know if you can get away with it these days. I'm kind of waiting between those couple of skits in that notebook, and the potential of all of this stuff. I'm kind of waiting for the planet to get back in some sort of normality where common sense is kicking back in. We're not getting talked down to by a bunch of idiots that were just never told no as a kid. Unfortunately, that's where we're at these days. Too many naughty kid steps, naughty step kids that, yeah, just over entitled little shitheads that get offended at absolutely everything. So the sooner we get away from that, the better. And once we do, I can get this stuff done. But I'm gonna have a lot of fun over the rest of this year, going through some of this stuff, starting to rewrite. Like, I think I'm going to spend all my time on this project at the moment, because what I've read so far, even though I don't think it's any good, has a lot of potential to be very, very funny. And yeah, something that I haven't done for a long time. Let's get something that can be made simply out there, and hopefully at some point we do get it done, and we'll start making some connections to this channel to actually get it done. That's going to do it for this video. I am hungry. I'm going to go and eat everything in the house. Until the next episode, stay safe. I will talk to you all then.